Hi, Kristen Solomon, Court Liaison, Advocate for Right Turn Impact. Today I'm at the Law Office of Craig M. Kadish, Criminal Defense Attorney in Baltimore, Maryland. Let's go inside and talk with Mr. Kadish, learn more about him and his practice, and to see why he trusts Right Turn for his clients. Thank you so much.
Hi, welcome to the Law Office of Craig Kadish and Associates. Mr. Kadish will be with you shortly.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Kadish.
Hey, Kristen, thanks for stopping by. Come on back to my office. Hi, I'm Craig Kadish. I have a law practice that's based in Baltimore, Maryland, and I do work all over the state of Maryland and federally all around the United States. I've been a law professor, teaching constitutional law and criminal constitutional procedure. I've trained police. I've been a professor at the Maryland State Police Academy, and I've worked with and mentored young law students as well as up-and-coming attorneys who are now criminal defense attorneys in their own right. The focus of my practice is generally addiction, but it's addiction in a number of different areas. We deal with the common sorts of addiction that you would think you'd see: alcoholism, drug addiction. But we also are seeing a tremendous rise in another form of addiction: sex addiction, addiction to pornography, and very specifically to something we call CSAM, child sexual abuse material, which is also called child pornography. But regardless of whether you're drinking alcohol or you're taking drugs or you're getting your thrill from going into places you shouldn't be on the internet, the reality is that it's all based on the same thing, and that's an individual's feelings. I often quiz people when they come into my office, and I'll say, why do you think it is you drink alcohol? Or why do you think it is that you smoke crack? Or why do you think it is that you watch pornography? And I get generally the same answers, and none of them are generally the right answer at the beginning. The answers that I get are, well, I drink alcohol because if you had my life, if you had my job, if you had my wife, you'd drink too. When I say to people, why do you engage in exhibiting, watching child pornography? They say, well, if your life was as dull or boring as mine, you'd want to get that little bit of jolt as well. All of that boils down to the same thing. It boils down to feelings. And you may say, well, wait a minute, what does feelings have to do with any of this? It has everything to do with it. In the end, taking a drink, taking a drug, engaging in the use of illicit CSAM, all of those things are about feelings. They're taking the way you feel at the moment before you do it and trying to change the way you feel. And we try to help clients understand that, because if they don't understand that piece, then getting them through the process is more difficult, and getting them into treatment and successfully completing treatment, whether it's for alcohol or drugs or child pornography, is almost a futile effort. People have to be ready. And to be ready, I believe that they have to understand what the root cause of their behavior is. It's not easy. People get wrapped up in their own lives and they think that their behaviors, which they have engaged in for years, are normal. No one starts off thinking, I'm going to be an alcoholic, or I'm going to be a drug addict, or I'm going to really enjoy child pornography, or I'm going to become an addictive gambler. But they all have one thing in common, and that is a need to change the way they feel. And while that isn't really our arena here, our arena is to find a defense for the individual and then help them. There are cases, and this is a lot of cases, where our job as attorneys is to help mitigate the damage and help see that it doesn't happen again. Now, you may say, well, I only want my lawyer to go in and get me found not guilty. Well, that's great if you can be found not guilty, but you're going to end up back in that lawyer's office again, year after year, unless the underlying behavior is addressed. And to address the underlying behavior, you have to address the underlying feelings. So what do we do in these circumstances? Well, when we have a case that involves something like CSAM, we send it to the appropriate doctors over at Johns Hopkins. But when we have addicts and alcoholics who come into our office and they say, where should I go? We tell them you have a lot of choices. You can go to a fancy treatment center where you're going to get massages and Reiki therapy and lobster and steak on Friday nights. Or you can get down and dirty and actually want to do the work of addressing why it is that you feel the need to change the way you feel. And for the people that are serious, we refer them to Right Turn Impact. And we do it for a reason. Right Turn Impact is run by individuals who are in recovery. It is a group of people who support each other, and they support their patients. And when the patients leave, the recovery doesn't stop. I liken recovery treatment centers to a jump start of a car with a bad alternator. If you don't fix the alternator, yeah, you can get the car started and it'll go from point A to point B, but you turn it off and you get out, and when you get back in it, it won't start again. Treatment centers give you the jump start, in my opinion. But to stay clean and sober, there have to be other implements in place. How do we do that? We send them to Right Turn, and then we suggest the aftercare. Get involved in your 12-step program. And the folks who work there go to meetings themselves. They actually take pride in the patients and in the job that they're doing, in the desire to help the patients, much like we do here. Our job's a little different. We're not getting them sober, but we're getting them to reality, understand what is causing this problem. And then we send them to the experts over at Right Turn or at Johns Hopkins, who can then help them dig deeper and find out why it is they need to change the way they feel. What's the root cause? I've worked with Right Turn for over 30 years. I toured the facility when it was literally the Baltimore County DUI facility on the grounds of the Rosewood State Mental Hospital. It's no longer there, but it's still the same great program with, I believe, the lowest recidivism rate for any treatment program in Maryland. In fact, I've referred folks to Right Turn who have ended up working at Right Turn and are still there to this day. If there's a need and it's a good fit, I always recommend Right Turn Impact.